To help us look at it more, we're joined by iBrandTV's senior analyst, Charles Fakroha. Good morning, Charles.
Good morning, Dr.
It's good to have you on the show.
It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, without wasting time, let's go straight into this. We're starting with the Nigeria-Morocco gas pipeline. The pipeline is supposed to have 13 countries, go through 13 countries from Nigeria to Morocco, and we've seen 5 more countries come on board. So what do you take? What's your take on this?
Yes, it goes to show that it's a laudable project, and for all these countries signing the MOU, it shows that yes, they are ready to support the project, and of course, because they will have done their own assessments of the impact of that project to their respective countries, and it's a very good development, and we encourage them to continue to ensure that the project is a success.
As we know, gas is one of the major things that is driving that Africa is trying to come into, especially with the recent supply halt from the Russia-Ukraine war. Do you think we have the power to do this?
Yes, if you look at it naturally, we have abundance of this natural gas.
About 600 trillion.
Okay, so yes, and for me, I'm even more concerned about the environment, because we know that gas is much more cleaner energy. So if we're doing that kind of transition, we can't just from fossil fuel, to this kind of gas, which is more cleaner. It's better for us than to just say, okay, stop it, and just move on straight to renewables. We need to go from one step to the other. So I think this is good, and yes, I hope the countries involved are deeply involved, and at the same time they take it as their project. Because if you don't take this kind of project as your own, at the end of the day, they might not be able to deliver. But I think, yes, for what we are saying, they are good to go.
They are good to go. Then let's also look at one very touchy subject. That's cryptocurrency. And top proponents have said we need regulation to drive adoption. One of the major premises of the blockchain is the deregulation. That is removing power from the government and giving it to the people.
Yeah, so it becomes peer-to-peer, as you guys used to say.
Now, proponents are now saying that there needs to be more regulation in the space. Do you agree to this?
Yes, because when you are talking of financial inclusion, most people, what we don't understand, we fear. So I have been telling the young persons, the blockchain, cryptocurrency, what you are doing, there is nothing mysterious about it. It is your duty now to communicate properly. Let the older folks understand what you are doing, what is involved. And the only way is for the regulators to be involved in terms of that regulation. And once there is a form of regulation, then the adoption becomes much more easier. It does not mean that because I'm a regulator, then it's whatever I say. When you are bringing out rules, regulation for certain financial space, it is the operators and the regulators that will come to, and other stakeholders that will come together. So it is not a regulatory thing. We're talking of financial inclusion, payment system. So if the people are currently doing it now, the regulators, in fact, it is even the operators that will begin to give advice to the regulators. And when they come out with a complete regulation for that space, then it becomes easy for the ordinary folks to adopt it. And of course, because you don't just allow people to operate freely, there must be some form of regulation, whether we like it or not. Well, so I think it's a very good one.
Yes. One of the things that the blockchain is built on is trust and transparency.
Of course.
But there are people who always want to circumvent the system. So will regulation able to at least tape this?
Yes. I mean, for the financial markets, regulation is key to efficient, transparent market to protect the average person.
Okay.
And if the average person is not seen or perceived to know that the authorities are protecting their interest, investors' protection is key. And once they see that, of course, everybody will adopt the blockchain cryptocurrency. But there is need for regulation.
There's need for regulation. All right, Dan, let's look at the third story we have here. One of the presidential hopefuls, that's in the person of Atiku Abubakar, is looking to privatize Nigeria's refineries in order to help small and medium scale enterprises. Should we be selling our
Assets.
Our assets. That's sorry. Thank you for the word. Our refineries. Should we be is that what we should be looking at now? Privatizing them, especially as we are trying to become petrol independent.
Well, the presidential hopeful, the former vice president, has experience in the privatization. Of course, at the time being the vice president, he was the chairman of the National Council for Privatization or something like that, and where that government decided to privatize. And at the end of the day, we didn't see anything that is out. But he also confirmed that the refineries have not been functioning for quite some time.
For since now.
And if you have an asset that has not been producing anything, yes, I will support the privatization of those refineries, because we've been hearing of turnaround maintenance, TAM, for quite a long time, and I'm even amazed when some persons say Kaduna Refinery has not produced one drop of refined product, and of course, and people still go to work there.
Right.
So for me, it's like a wasting asset. So I think I will support the former vice president for that move. But at the same time, saying, okay, you are going to privatize, then use the money to support
small and medium scale
SME.
enterprises.
For me, I don't think that is appropriate. It's a revenue when you privatize. Of course, the essence of the privatization is government has no business in business. So let it work. You can do this different arrangement for the SMEs, not because you want to sell this one.
Let me come in there and read this quote.
Okay.
I am going to set aside $10 billion so that we can empower our young men and women in small and medium enterprises.
Okay.
So it's not the old money, it's taking part of it. So?
Yes, for me, it is not just giving funding to SMEs. Create the enabling environment. These SMEs will strive. They already have agencies that take up. SMIDAM is there.
Yes, madam.
Then the Association of SMEs and all is there. So just create the enabling environment. Make power affordable. Improve security. You will see SMEs striving. I was in my village recently after my Abuja trip, and I could see that some of the young men who do, refrigerator, AC, they cannot function because the power situation is zero. They moved on, they closed their shop and moved on to the city. So you can see, SMEs will strive if there is an enabling environment.
That's a very good one. Then we'll move to the last story that we're tracking. That's on the Debt Management Office. They've assured us, as we know, one of the major fears that everybody has is that the country has a swelling debt stock.
Yes.
But she's coming out, that's the DG, Patience Onia, she's coming out again to say Nigeria's debt level is still sustainable.
Well,
let's hear your thought on that.
Yes, on the face value, you want to get annoyed, that despite all what we have seen, our debt stock increasing and all that, and I've also said here on this platform that he who goes borrowing goes sorry. But again, looking at what she is saying, yes, that this borrowing should be tied to projects for it to be sustainable. So she qualified that statement, tied to project for it to be sustainable. Because what is the essence of you going into debt and the funds are not used for the purpose? Yes, we need to borrow for productive venture, but at the same time, you just can't continue borrowing. You need to stop and say, no, these funds I have borrowed, what are the results? Am I generating the revenue that will pay back this debt? So that you get to a point, I will stop borrowing. We need to begin to look at that. And of course, we can have that debt sustainability if the government is willing to assess these funds and ensure that they are used for the purpose in which they are made for.
And one thing she's now putting forward is taxation. She's calling for more taxation. But with more taxation, people have been complaining that the environment is not
conducive
enough, and you want us to pay more tax, because paying more taxes has been provided as an alternative
yes.
to borrowing.
Yes.
But people are here complaining that don't tax us more. At the same time, people don't want the government to borrow. So
yes.
let's find the
middle ground.
Yes.
You see, government is there. Government must provide the basic necessities for its citizen. And one of the ways from time immemorial is to tax the citizen. But our problem here in Nigeria is most persons that are supposed to be in that tax nets are not there. No data. Then at the same time, you don't do proper tax assessment. For me, there's a lot of tax illiteracy, but that's the fault of the government. You know, the government should come up with mechanism in which we can get all the revenue from tax, prevent leakages, and once we have enough of that, we'll improve our revenue sources. Because tax, whether we like it or not, is one of the main source of revenue for any government all over the world, anywhere. So we need to look at that very well and ensure that those who are supposed to be in that bracket are taxed properly. You know, it's not a matter of saying you are taxing people too much. Once they are able to be assessed, they pay the tax they are supposed to pay. And most importantly, we are seeing the dividend of what they are using the tax. That will motivate more people to be willingly to pay their tax and encourage other people to continue to pay tax.
That's a very, very good place to hold that conversation. Thank you very much, Charles Fakroha, iBrandTV's senior business analyst, for joining us.
Thank you, Dapo.
Yes, and we move on now to the local bourse. Trading activities on the floor of the Nigerian exchange resumed yesterday as there was a 63 billion naira gain. As we shall be looking at this when we come back from this break. Please don't go anywhere.